How's it going, everybody? My name is Tony Piombo. I'm the host of the Wood-Fired Podcast. I wanted to welcome everybody to our first episode and talk a little bit about what we're doing here. Basically, we are featuring chefs and individuals who have wood-fired cooking backgrounds. We want to bring them onto our show, and we just want to have candid conversations with them. Learn about their recipes, learn about their techniques, different styles, tips and tricks, and also talk a little bit about their backgrounds and how they got involved in wood-fired cooking and how they're doing it today. My first guest was Tyler. He's the head chef owner of Oenotri, which is a Southern Italian themed restaurant located here in Napa Valley. And they've been here for, I believe, going on 10 years. Anyways, Tyler is a great guy. He's a personal friend. I've known him for years, and I couldn't think of a better person to have as our first guest on the Wood-Fired Podcast. So I hope you guys enjoy the first episode. And welcome to the Wood-Fired Podcast. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Okay. We're live. We did it. Took a while there. So, this is the podcast. This is the Wood-Fired Podcast. Here with Tyler from Oenotri.
Hello.
Tyler, thank you for coming.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I was surprised that you agreed to do this, knowing that it was my first time.
Oh,
no?
Come on.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, it's all fun.
I like it. I think to start, maybe tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay.
Just, in your restaurant, Oenotri, and, what led you to open that restaurant here in Napa, and, just a little quick bio.
For sure. So Tyler Rodde. I was born and raised here in Napa. That's one of the primary reasons of why the restaurant's here. I had been working in restaurants, kind of a variety of different styles of restaurants, and then I really fell in love with Italian cooking when I was at Oliveto in Oakland. And just towards the end of my time there, I got in a pretty gnarly snowboarding accident. And I
did not know you snowboarded.
Oh yeah. I got too many days on the mountain this year. It's been an epic season.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. But I got 23 stitches in my head. Jeez. And I was bleeding out on the slopes, and I was like, what am I doing with my life? I want to go build something, create something that's mine, that's come out of my head.
What were you doing at the time?
I was just a line cook.
A line cook there.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, I was just, and didn't have a ton of pizza experience. We had a wood-fire pizza oven there. I stretched dough a couple of times. I had a little bit of experience before that, but hadn't really got into pizza until we opened Oenotri in 2010. So the restaurant's been open now for a little over 9 years. Mm-hmm. We got wood-fire pizza oven, obviously.
Not mine.
No.
In your defense, it was before we started making it, right?
Absolutely. It was 5? You guys have been doing it about 5 years
14.
Now?
We started 14? In 2014. So
okay. Yeah. So we were installing in 9.
So you opened up in 2010.
Yeah.
And I know that downtown Napa was
a ghost
completely different.
Yeah. It was a ghost town. It was a totally different
Who else was down there besides you at that time?
So Norman Rose had opened like 4 months prior to us. Coles was there. Zuzu was there.
Was Morimoto
Celadon.
there?
Morimoto hadn't opened yet. They were about 4 or 5 months after we were.
Gotcha. That's about it.
Downtown Joe's, Bounty Hunter.
Mervin's,
yeah.
Buckhorn.
Buckhorn was there. Yeah.
I miss that place.
You could definitely get a roast beef sandwich.
That place. I feel like they do good right now if they were still there.
Yeah.
So you opened 2010.
Opened 2010 in like one of the worst economies in modern times.
Right.
And we just said, okay, let's focus on fundamentals. Let's make pasta. Let's make pizza. Let's make salumi in-house. Mm-hmm. And then it was like in 2011, 2012, we started our farming operation.
Where's that at?
So we've got a little bit so we farm a portion of the property right across from the CIA at Copia.
Okay, the one across the street.
Across the street, yeah. So like the back half of that, we manage the land back there.
Okay.
There's a handful of other restaurants that still do it. I believe Zuzu and La Toque are the only 2 other restaurants left. And then we've got a little bit of land that a buddy's house off of East Avenue, and then my parents' family home that I like grew up at. My mom actually planted olive trees, like it was her job to plant another olive tree every year, and same with lemon trees.
Right.
So we've got tons of citrus and tons of lemons up there.
Nice.
Yeah, and then we started the brewery in 2016.
Tannery.
Tannery.
Nice.
Yeah.
And why did you do that?
No, it was 2017 when we opened to the public. We were doing contract brewing in 2017.
Gotcha. So what was the motivation behind the brewery?
We kept on wanting to expand, like we make everything concept.
Okay.
And Matt Cromwell is a buddy, and I believed in his craft, and we had wanted to open maybe a brew pub or an extension of the restaurant that would require us to brew. And then as we got further and further down the road, we said, let's build a brewery. So.
And how's it doing?
It's doing really well.
It looks like it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So back to the restaurant, back to Oenotri. What would you say was your main influence on just the whole concept? What is the concept, and where did that come from?
Yeah, so the concept is seed to table. Seed to table.
Okay.
Yeah, we started with like a farm to table concept, which is kind of an oxymoron because it's like everything comes from a farm.
Right.
But
or it starts there. At
least. It should theoretically, right? But then we wanted to dive deeper into the knowledge of all the food, and so that's really what motivated us to start the farming program.
Okay.
And we focus on Southern Italian cuisine. I like Southern Italian cuisine because, number one, the wood fire pizza.
Sure.
We are starting to do a Roman style pizza now that we're doing at the brewery, and we're going to expand through that concept. And I'm trying to figure out whether or not those are going to be wood fired as well.
I've never heard of Roman style pizza. What is that?
So a Roman style pizza is it's a thicker crust. If you want to think of it's somewhere between a deep dish and a regular.
So lower temp than Neapolitan. You're not cooking it at 800.
Lower temp, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but still at 450, 500.
Sure.
We're kind of navigating our way through that because I think what I want to do is kind of bake it off, kind of par bake, and then finish when we add the cheese to it in the oven because you get that smoky component to it.
Sure.
We're also roasting all the vegetables in the wood fire oven, and that imparts just so much flavor on its own.
Sure. So, let's talk about your oven a little bit. Who made that oven?
So it's an Echino oven from Naples. So the story that was told to me by Emilio is that there was two brothers that were in the iron ore business. I don't know if they were structural engineers or chemical engineers, but they said, we want to set out to create the most fuel efficient pizza oven there is on the market. So like your pizza ovens, it's brick and then brick up.
Tall dome, brick dome.
And so this is single molded refractory clay. And so
is it one piece or is it
it's two pieces?
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a dome and a deck.
Got it.
Because you need to have a little
bit
of...
But the dome is one piece.
The dome is one piece.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the...
There's very few manufacturers that
rare.
do that.
Sure.
And that's where you pick up tons of fuel efficiency.
Yeah.
Because, mortar and joints... they breathe,
I would think maybe, and I could be wrong on this is more my dad's forte, but structurally it sounds like that would be a little more solid too, having one piece.
Yeah, absolutely. But you run into the problems of if you have a problem with it, you've got a problem with the whole oven.
That's a good point.
Because there's no
you're not replacing.
There's no real patch.
And I know that too because we get a ton of people who will call and say, "Do you do repairs?"
Right.
And whenever we do get that call, it's because it's a refractory dome.
Yeah.
And for we don't do repairs at all, but even if we did, from the way I understand it, you can't truly patch that stuff.
No, the best thing you can do is actually chip out kind of a significant
big
portion.
That makes sense.
And then relay an epoxy, which they have patch kits for, but you better be filling in that whole thing with somewhere between a half to an eighth of an inch. And that eighth of an inch, you're floating that out towards the front, it's gonna crack again.
Right.
It's not if, it's when.
So you guys, so they make this oven in Italy.
Italy. Yeah.
Okay, they ship it over. Do
Yep.
they install it or did you?
No, the distributor installed it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
they have someone here that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And do you know the interior diameter roughly on that oven?
Ooh.
So I think the ones you cook on for us is 36 for reference.
Yeah, it's got to be bigger than that. I want to say it's 64.
Wow.
I want to say it's like 5
It's big.
feet.
I
It's
poked my head in
huge.
there.
It's huge. You can fit it. I mean, the guy who has patched the oven before, he crawled all the way inside of it, and I was like, "Where'd he go?"
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's big enough to roast a human. That's for sure.
Get rid of some remains.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about Southern Italian cuisine?
Yeah.
Or that was a big influence on you. So my wife and I went to Sicily. Listen, I went to
Yeah.
Sicily, right? So you do a lot of Sicilian.
I love
influence.
Sicilian food.
I've been all over like northern Italy, like Rome and Tuscany area,
Yeah.
even Genoa.
Yeah.
And Sicily by far was my favorite.
The food is just outstanding.
And the way I understand it is it's a melting pot there. I mean, you have
Absolutely.
tons of different cultures and tons of different nations who kind of live there, and everything's kind of assimilated together. And so you have a little bit of everything.
Absolutely. So like from a food history standpoint, Sicily was the salt capital of the world for like 2,000 years.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
So the salt flats that are off of Erice and Trapani, that was like, because you didn't trade in gold, you traded in salt.
Salt, sure.
Right. And so because the salt was all there and they had the beds and they had the infrastructure to pull that off, then like populations would come in and take over. So there was the Morgates and the Itali, and then the Normans, and it's like every time somebody came over and like kind of took over the island in order to take over the salt trade, they imparted a ton of food flavor profiles into the cuisine.
Gotcha.
And so you'll see North African spices, you'll see some Asian spices, you'll see Germanic flavor profiles, like even English flavor profiles that just all kind of meld together in this really cool way.
Gotcha.
And it's super light too. Like the food is a lot lighter, not very much butter. You're not using a lot of, you're really not using a lot of cheese. It's much more about fresh vegetables and olive oil and utilizing what comes from the ocean.
Got it. Yeah, I noticed that when I was over there, and then also being at your restaurant too. Our favorite thing was the arancinis.
Oh yeah.
Do you guys ever make those?
Absolutely.
Okay, I haven't seen them yet, so
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
definitely want to try it.
and where were you staying in Sicily?
So when we first went down there, we went to this really small island off the southwestern coast.
Isla Grande?
No, Favignana.
Favignana.
Super small.
Okay.
Like super small, right? You know, a couple thousand people live there. Like it's more of a tourist destination for like actual Italians. Not a lot of people know about it. I don't know how we found it.
For sure.
Super secluded. And it was great. The food was good. But of course, we went to Palermo after that. And that's where, we did a street food tour. We saw the market.
Yeah.
Right. We had,
Did you eat any lung?
Alyssa ate what was it? The tripe, not tripe. Oh, shoot, I can't remember what it was. The spleen sandwich.
Yeah.
So our group.
I'm not a fan.
No, there was probably 15 of us. It was her and one other person were the only ones that ate it.
Yeah.
And she's a champ. But apparently that's like their hangover cure.
Is it
over there?
Yeah.
That's like the go-to for them.
Yeah, and like they do it. I think it's a deep fried lung dish. That
Really?
I'm like,
that doesn't surprise me.
You can't that's not possible in
Yeah.
the United States.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't.
There's
you're
no way
not
to-
allowed to keep that part.
Would you say the United States is the most conservative when it comes to like food you can serve, or?
Yeah, I
they
would
up
say
there? Sure.
I'd say it's pretty
Makes
far
sense.
up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, Sicily was great. In Palermo, the food was nuts. We had this ice cream sandwich with actual bread as the sandwich too. I don't remember what that was called.
Yeah.
That was killer. Their pizza over there, though, in Sicily, there was a little, but there was also that fluffy stuff too.
Yeah.
It might be the Roman one you're talking about.
Yeah. So it, they do. They'll do. I can't remember the name of it. It is. Oh, I'm totally drawing a blank. But they do a flat style in like Marsala de Vaio. and in like Cefalù and Taormina. Trapani has its own like special style of pizza that's only Trapanese.
I've heard that.
And they use a ton of pecorino and a little bit of sugar in their tomato. That's like the main difference that I can figure out. Yeah.
Do you have some, because, you know, a lot of people are going to listen to this, hopefully, and watch it. They own ovens, wood-fired ovens, and they love cooking pizza.
Yeah.
Do you have a signature style? What are some of the things you maybe do differently? No proprietary information, right? But like, you know, like maybe with the dough and just in general, what your rule of thumb is when you're making a pizza, putting your toppings on.
So with a Neapolitan style pizza, I would say that less is more, right?
Sure.
It's all about taking your time to the dough. I don't know how long you proof your dough, but we do a 3-day.
Okay.
And that's in the walk-in. Let the flavor profile develop slowly. Let the yeast activate super slowly. You get a really nice absorption factor. You can have a wetter dough that's a little bit more elastic, I find, than if you're trying to rush it. Rushing it is. Are you fermenting it outside at room temperature, or are you throwing it in the walk-in?
Yeah, the
right.
Right.
It's. I haven't done a side-by-side in a while, but I think that the yeast flavor profile we decided was much more developed when it took a little bit longer.
That makes sense.
When we slowed it down.
Sure.
And then the most important thing is let the dough be the dough, right? Don't try and force it.
Right.
If it's too tight, let it rest. Let it hang out. Let it come to room temp.
Right.
Oftentimes, like you're throwing a party and you're like, oh, I got to get the pizza in the oven. I got to get the pizza in the oven. Well, pizza's not ready to go in the oven. It's going to shrink up on you.
That cold dough. Absolutely.
It's like, it's a nightmare.
Yeah.
You got to let the dough do the dough thing.
Right.
And you can speed it up, right? So if you're planning a party that evening and you know that you want to have pizza, pull that pizza dough out, get it like right to the perfect spot where you want it, and then throw it back in the fridge.
Yep.
Because you pull that back out, 10 minutes later, it's going to be exactly in the same spot.
Yep.
And you can like slow it down to speed it up type
That
thing.
makes sense. That's interesting. I never thought of that. I never heard that. So that's a great tip. Yeah. No, and that's something I've always told people when they maybe rent an oven from us or they first get it and they're asking about pizza. The thing that I always tell them is the same as you said. Less is more.
Yeah.
High quality ingredients,
absolutely,
but minimal.
Yeah.
Right. Because you want to be able to taste it. And then what I see, you know, sometimes people, they put too much, you put too much on. They're not all, your toppings aren't going to cook all the way through.
Yeah.
It gets wet. You know, the dough isn't, you know, so yeah, less is more and real high quality, minimal kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's definitely what I see over you guys doing that pizza. So I love your pizza. It's my favorite pizza in Napa.
Thank you.
Unless another person who owns a pizza comes on my show. No, but I had never, you know, that's what I always had every time I went. And then I had the ragu, is it pork ragu? Is it?
Yeah.
Yes. Because I'd always had the pizza there. It's one of my favorite things I've ever eaten in my life.
Thank you.
You can ask, I go out and try and go out once every week or something like that. And I just want to keep going back to Oenotri and getting the same thing.
Awesome.
It's insane.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about that dish?
Oh, it's just slow and low.
Slow and low. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's a simple braise. So instead of making into like, you just throw the meat in and kind of chop it all up because it's ground already. We actually form it into like these big old balls.
Okay.
And so we braise it as a giant block of meat and then we smash it at the end.
Nice.
And then you never want to serve it that day. You want to wait a day, let all the brodo, like the broth, the sauce, reabsorb into the meat.
Got it.
That and, you know, when you bring it back up, cook it slow. Because if you hit it with a bunch of high heat, you're going to tighten up the proteins. It's going to become a little bit more granular.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try and make it probably.
Slow and low. Yeah. and you know, so we're doing 25 kilos, like 50 pounds of meat at a time.
Right.
And that's cooking for 4 or 5 hours, 6 hours, something like that.
Gotcha.
And the base of it, the brodo, has been going for 3 days. So it's really, I find that in Italian food in general, it's like, slow it down to speed it up, get way ahead on some of these key ingredients like your stocks and like brining. You know, brining is a whole other thing. If you're doing like a spatchcock chicken in the wood oven, if you've got it brined, it's just going to come out so much more juicy and flavorful and
Right.
perfectly seasoned throughout the whole thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So in your oven, what temp are you usually at when you're during night, dinner?
I would say probably somewhere between 825 and 875 is really our wheelhouse.
So what do you on average, just a typical night, what are you throwing in your wood-fired oven aside from pizza?
All the vegetables for the restaurant.
All the veggies in the restaurant.
All the veggies in the restaurant.
Okay. Cast iron or
just on sheet trays.
sheet trays?
Just
Yep.
straight in.
Yep, we have
olive
those
oil.
big hotel size. Yep.
Yeah, just olive oil and salt.
Yes,
I keep it
yep.
simple.
Yep.
And I really like that super high heat because you can get the caramelization without overcooking the inside, especially on stuff like squash,
Right.
winter squash and summer squash, tomatoes. You can get a little bit of char, but it still can be juicy.
Brussels sprouts
Yeah.
are probably my favorite vegetable
Yeah.
that we cook in the oven.
Yeah. Do you cut them in half and lay
Yes.
them down flat?
Yes, and then just salt and oil.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the way to do it.
So you guys do all your veggies in
All
the
the
oven.
veggies,
Nice.
yeah.
And then are you doing meat in there ever aside from the pizza?
Not really.
Gets messy.
It just
for
gets
you guys in a
yeah,
restaurant setting.
Yeah, it gets complicated. We will do sucklings in there sometime overnight. So like we throw the last log in at maybe like 10 o'clock, and then at 2 o'clock in the morning, the oven's down to like 450.
Okay.
And you put the like a split suckling in there.
Right.
And
Like on a tray.
on a tray, on a trivet, with so that it's got somewhere for the drippings to go, and then close the cap on it and throw a pot of water in there too,
Right.
so it'll kind of steam out and stay moist. And then come back first thing in the morning, and a couple hours later, and you got
Sounds
a
good.
beautifully cooked suckling.
Nice.
Yeah. Then you can pull off the cracklings,
Right.
turn it into sandwiches or ragu or
Right.
whatever you want.
So aside from the restaurant, what else are you cooking, or what are you doing cooking wise? Because I know you do the bottle rock.
Yeah.
You guys have been doing that since the first year, right? Or second year?
We've done something at Bottle Rock every year since the beginning. First year we had a booth. Second year we just did a VIP thing,
Right.
and then third year and beyond we do all the artist catering, right. And then we also help manage and organize the suites.
Gotcha.
Which is, I think it works out to roughly 4,500, 5,000 meals in the suites, and about 1,500 meals in artist catering.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
You guys do an insane amount of food.
Yeah.
The
It's
ovens do not get cold.
No. And that's one of the things that I really like about your guys' ovens in particular is they get to temp super quick for us.
Yeah.
We build a fire. Once that fire is coals, then you're ready to cook.
Sure.
The oven at the restaurant, it takes a little bit longer to heat up.
Right. And it is bigger.
Right. And the slab is super
thick. You gotta saturate it.
It takes time to get that heat there.
I think it's size for sure, and probably a little bit the ventilation, the way we vent, I think is pretty unique.
Yeah.
So okay, so you guys do Bottle Rock. Do you do a lot of catering? Do you do a lot of other events? What other events are you guys doing?
We're doing an event for Hands and Hearts, Peter Michael Winery Foundation in June. We've participated in the film festival.
Mm-hmm.
We've participated people throw us events and we show up. I have a very hard time saying no.
Well, and you guys, you like having parties too.
Yeah.
You guys do a lot of parties.
So we've knocked it back. We're not having an anniversary party this year. They're huge. They're a tremendous amount of work.
Yeah.
And
I'd imagine so.
I think I've kicked the team's
do.
butt a little too much, but we're figuring it out. That's actually what we think we're going to do is try and get the brewery to take over some of those parties because it just makes more sense.
Sure. Definitely.
We're set up to do it. You don't have to pull out all the tables and chairs and figure out where to put them. And
right. So what does your menu look like right now, like around this time of year, what are you cooking?
Right now, so we're getting out of Brussels sprouts. We're getting into asparagus.
Okay.
Like I made a killer pie for this class I was teaching this morning. That was cream, fresh ricotta, asparagus, a little bit of lemon zest, and then some torn mint.
So how do you do you just kind of cut the ends off on the asparagus for the pizza, or?
So when you pull the asparagus out of like a case, you just kind of bend towards the end,
Right,
and wherever that snaps, everything else is usable. Pitch that part.
Do you throw that whole thing on the pizza, or do you kind of?
We'll cut it into like shaves on a bias.
Okay, so you kind of shave it. Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
super thin.
Nice.
Because asparagus got a ton of water, so it'll leach out into the sauce, and the thicker it is, the more water you end up releasing on the pizza, and so it can get a little wet if you don't slice it thin.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So you and then so do you ever think about opening another restaurant or a second location? Or?
So we're really focused. Oenotri is challenging in that we have so many moving pieces to it, and I don't think I would want to open another restaurant the exact same as Oenotri.
Right.
Just because there's so many moving pieces. We've got a really entrenched wine program with over 600 selections of wine. We've got a farm program. We've got a whole animal butchery program. We've got a dough program. We've got a pastry program. It's like, it just takes a ton of people in order to execute everything. And I want to be there. I don't know. It's not a control thing. It's a little bit of a control thing. I want to be there and be present to make sure that everything's going out the right way.
Right. So it wouldn't be a Oenotri. It would be something else.
Yeah. So, for the brewery, what we're doing is we're working on this Roman style pizza.
Okay.
And we are opening a tasting room down in Oakland. Hopefully we'll be open by July, and we'll be doing Roman style pizza down there.
Awesome. So it's going to be a tannery.
It's going to be a tannery.
Nice.
It's called Tannery on Telegraph.
Nice.
And we're at 6369. That's what it is. 6369 Telegraph.
Nice.
At the kind of the corner of Alcatraz and Telegraph. And the idea is that we're still going to be able to be kind of capricious. There's going to be like a marinara pizza, a cheese pizza, a veggie pizza, and a meat pizza. And when we're out of the pizza, we're out of the pizza.
I like that.
It's just kind of, this is what we got. Come for lunch. Come hang out. When it's gone, it's gone.
Right. There was this.
Tomorrow will be a little different.
Yeah. There was that. I don't know if you ever saw that Vice episode about that. There's a pizzeria that would just make a certain amount of pizzas every day, and that was it.
Was it Chris Bianco in
New York or New Jersey?
Okay.
It was on the East Coast.
Okay, there's a dude in Arizona who's the same way.
Really?
He was like, we make 300 pies. When we're out,
we're out.
That's
it
when
makes
we
it
close.
easy, right?
It makes it super easy to plan.
Right? Because I can only imagine the logistics of trying to staff a restaurant and order all the food when you have a good guess, but still, I mean. It's like, nope, this is how many. So you order the right amount, you hire the right people, and it's done.
Yeah, it's the way. I mean, restaurants that are super labor intensive have become more and more challenging just with the labor market in the Bay Area.
Sure.
So we're trying to figure out new ways to do like really flavorful food, but not have to put layers and layers of labor on top of it.
Right. So can you tell me some of the chefs around here that you like in Napa, or totally. Some restaurants you like.
I love Torque. I think Sean does great food. I had a fantastic meal there. I haven't been getting out a ton lately, just because we've been working on so many kind of other projects.
Right.
But who else? Up at Goose and Gander. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. I really like what they got going on up there. I always love Farmstead.
Yeah.
If I'm going for lunch up Valley, that's probably where I'm going to end up
Farmstead's
going.
insane.
Yeah.
They've
got tons of wood fire.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're all about.
I don't know
love
if he's
the events outside too.
I don't know if he's the head chef, but one of the chefs there has one of our ovens at his house. Steven?
Steven? Yeah, he's the executive chef.
Yeah, we're trying to get one down there soon for them. But yeah, that place, the whole concept, I love that.
It's great.
And they've been around for a while too, right?
They got to be coming up on 7, 8 years, I would imagine.
I just love the vibe there is.
It's super fun.
Oh, it's a good time. And the food obviously is insane.
Yeah. Great setup for like the whole layout of the space makes a lot of sense too.
Right. Yeah. No, Farmstead's great. I love that place. Yeah, we're pretty lucky to live here.
I mean, there's tons of good food. I
Can imagine you have a lot of time to go to.
Yeah, I love Tanya's over on Jefferson. That's your
go-to Mexican spot.
Yeah, nice. But then I grew up with Via Corona, so I got to go get a super burrito every once in a while.
Their enchiladas are my favorite.
That's the jam.
Oh yeah, all day. Nice, man. So wood-fired oven cooking, or just wood-fired in general. I mean, what's unique about that to you? I mean, why is that different than throwing something in my conventional oven or on a barbecue with coals?
It's totally different because the temperature is always changing.
Yes.
You have to be more tuned in
no
to
knob.
the senses.
There's no knob.
Yeah. And if it gets hot, you can get in trouble.
You have to adjust what you're doing, right?
Yeah, you got to slow it down, or you're like, if you put your arm in and it's not burning off your forearm hairs, you're like, okay, we got to throw a couple logs in.
Yep. So it's different.
It's a
dynamic.
Very,
sure.
It's a much more romantic style of cooking. I feel like
and challenging, right?
Yeah. But utilizing all of your senses convection ovens are great because they're super consistent for the most part, but to even have the ability to be like, okay, yeah, the oven's at 700 right now, and I like where this is going, but I want to get a little bit more color on that roast or on that fish.
Sure.
Throw a log in, throw a little bit of paper in, get a blast.
Hold it up to the top, too. Sear it real quick.
Real quick. I mean, like seconds, right?
Yeah.
You can't get that in very many other places outside of maybe a wok. Like woks cook at that kind of temperature, but nothing else.
Char
really
broilers.
Does. Yeah.
We did some steak the other day, and we just put it on a metal peel and put it all the way to the top, right in the flames.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
That's awesome. And then let it rest forever.
Yes, let it rest, and then you can also put it up for 1 minute, then put it in the bottom corner and let it slow cook, right? And it's
that kind of versatility. You can't get that with very many things,
right?
I mean, so one of the cheeses that we use a lot is called ricotta salata, which is like a dry. So ricotta salata, I think, is ricotta that's salted.
Okay.
And in reality, it's just like a dry, crumbly ricotta.
Right.
But what we found is that if you rub olive oil all over the wheel and then you have it just hang out in the mouth of the oven and rotate it, you can get this like char that happens on the outside, and you shave
smoky
that
flavor.
It's like you're smoking ricotta all by yourself.
Oh my God.
It's awesome.
That's so much fun, right? The stuff, and it's I mean, there's just so many different temperatures in the oven.
Inside the oven.
You go up top, you go down low.
Yeah, closer to the fire, further away.
Yep. You build your fire in certain places, or it's.
How do you build your fires?
So it's a great question. What I'm starting to get into, so the way we've always built our fires is pretty straightforward. We go 2 logs, perpendicular kindling, and parallel kindling, 2 more, repeat that process.
Okay.
And then we go, some cardboard in the middle. We just started doing the top down fire. Have you heard of the top down fire?
No, I haven't heard that.
It's fucking crazy.
Okay.
So it's essentially like a normal fire, like how you learn how to build fires, right? You you like flip that upside down. Okay. So you go, how does it go? Big logs down low.
Yeah.
Little medium logs above that.
Yeah.
Thick kindling above that. Small kindling above that. Paper up top.
Okay.
And it burns top down.
Okay.
So far, we've been able to tell that it gets up to temp the same. Same time. The smoke that comes out, cut it by 90%.
Oh wow.
It's a trip. I don't know why. There's some thermodynamic reasoning behind it. I have, but there's like no smoke.
That's wild.
It's really interesting. You should try it. I'll send you the link for like how to build it and
I'll
like
check
what
it
the
out.
deal is with it.
For sure.
How are you guys?
We do it the traditional way.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, it's like 2 logs, and then we'll have kindling and paper kind of in the center of that.
Right.
And typically, because the oven's always on, we'll take logs and we'll just kind of throw them in and then put the cap back on for about an hour. And then you shift everything over, set it all up, and as soon as it sparks,
Well,
everything's
right. I mean,
going.
you guys never drop below what, 300?
Probably not below 450, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it retains a fair amount of heat.
It's insane the difference.
The only time that we run into problems is when we close for Christmas break for
You're
repairs.
a couple days or something.
Yeah. And it takes a couple of days to get back up because I worry about it's always in the winter, right? And so it's raining, and so we're getting water like coming down.
Do you know how thick your dome is?
The dome, I want to say, is like 5 inches, 6 inches, something like that.
It's
thick.
That's
that
nuts.
thing weighs tons.
We're 4.5 inches, and I thought we were the thickest.
Yeah.
At least residential, I'm pretty sure we are. But I mean, a commercial. Wow, that's insane.
It's super thick.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Wow. So, yeah, I mean,
I think the mouth is probably 3.
Okay.
But when you get back into the dome,
like the floor.
the floor is 8.
Yeah, that's right. You were saying
Yeah.
super thick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you try and start a cold oven versus a warm oven, even if in our ovens,
you got everything set up right. It's still a challenge.
Even if it's like 100 degrees inside, it's just everything. Just that fire loves it, and it starts just exploding essentially.
Yeah.
But man, when you have a cold oven, it's
you got that oven that you haven't touched for a couple of months.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. We are. One problem we ran into with the rentals was that our wood supplier, and actually maybe give some insight on this, but according to our supplier, like it wasn't a very big deal if he dropped off wet firewood for restaurants every once, not wet, right? But just not super dry.
Right.
Because your oven never drops, so it's not that big.
So
we're talking minutes.
We can throw them in and dry them all the way out.
Yes, you can put them in there in the front, get them. But what we're doing is almost every single oven with a rental is starting cold, right? Because there's lots of time in between. And so, we were getting wood that wasn't wet, but it was not completely dry, and it suddenly turns an hour into 2 hours.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. It cracks me up because right now we've had so much rain that you can hear the wood just hissing.
And you see it start coming out.
And it's bubbling and foaming on the ends.
You can tell the difference between steam and smoke, and you see it all coming out. And then that smoke, for ours, that smoke gets dark black. Like it's super dark when the wood's wet.
For sure.
Yeah. But putting the logs right at the front, that was a really cool trick I learned from this guy, Anthony Falco, who's coming to teach some pizza classes this summer. He's an awesome chef, but he's been doing pizza for about 10 years, mainly Neapolitan style, I think. And he was telling me, he uses an andiron for one. Do you guys use an andiron?
No.
So he loves the andiron.
Yeah.
And then what he'll do is he'll use an andiron. He goes to the side. Do you guys go to the side? Or
we
go
to the side.
Yeah. So he'll go to the side, and then he'll make kind of like a trail of logs, right? Like, and they have like 3 logs in a line that goes into the mouth of the oven. And then, so when he does throw it on that andiron or with the other, it's just boom, instant combustion.
Yeah. The problem that I've found with those is that, because ours is refractory clay, it gets to like this glass, or porcelain kind of, like consistency.
The andiron does?
The deck itself. And so when you're moving logs on, the andiron will come down and pop, and just like little lifts. And so we were getting some pitting and pocketing.
Really?
And we were switching the pizza back and forth every single day. So we were doing pizzas on one side, pizzas on the other side, trying to make sure that we weren't like
it's a far from necessary component. It definitely makes life a little easier, I guess. But I mean, the logs you're throwing in can accomplish the same thing, right?
Yeah.
You lean it against the log instead of the andiron.
Exactly.
We're actually,
I think they're great to get fires started.
Sure,
if you're not,
initially,
if you're
get
not,
that oxygen.
Yeah, if you're not, especially if you're not used to building fires.
Right.
We're talking about. I mean, what's your use, right? Are you using it every day, or are you using it every once in a while? And for an every once in a while, I think they make a ton of sense.
Sure. And so what I noticed too with andirons was the only ones I can find on the internet are they're like cast
iron steel. Yeah.
So we're making a stainless one.
Okay.
Right. Because from the chefs I've talked to who have used them, they have a place like you. It's like 2-3 years, like these things are gone. They're degraded.
Oh, they disintegrate.
Yeah. So we're working on making some stainless ones. See how that goes. But Do you think it had anything to do with the material it was, or just it's your floor?
I don't
It's your
know.
floor. Who
I don't
knows?
know. I think it's the floor, and I think it's just nobody's going to be as ginger with your oven as you are.
Right.
Nobody's going to take as good a care of
That's a great
it.
point.
And the reality is, in a busy restaurant, it's challenging.
Sure.
Just to maintain all the equipment, because you got to move.
Yeah.
So you're like, no, I just got to get the oven, get the log in there.
You got to hustle.
I got to hustle.
What's your what wood are you using?
We're using oak primarily.
Like white oak. Do you use the split?
Yeah,
Or-
I use a split.
So it's like I compare it to like the size of my forearm.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
way more control, more physical work, but more control, right? Because you throw that big log in, and it's like, okay, it's gonna burn as long as it burns.
Yeah.
But then you
And
just throw those small ones.
Like some of the large ones have like burrs in them too that take forever to burn down.
Yeah.
But then we also supplement with some cherry or some walnut,
Yep.
or
Yep.
in the late fall we'll get fig wood from our fig tree.
I've never heard of fig.
Oh yeah, it's
awesome.
It's got a really cool like coconut flavor profile to it.
Okay.
Which it doesn't make any sense, but like the fig leaf, if you've ever steamed with fig leaf, it's got a really coconutty thing going on. So you can impart that into the pizza.
Have you ever used Madrone?
I have not.
I'm not sure about the flavor profile, but we've used Madrone. It seems to burn hotter than oak,
Okay.
but quicker. So I found it to be a really great wood to use when you're getting a cold oven up to temp.
Okay.
It seems to do it pretty.
It's a
bit
little bit more
quicker.
dense.
Yeah, I think it is. But we like Madrone. What are we not switching to? But we're doing our rentals in LA now.
Okay.
We're bringing a trailer down tomorrow. Actually,
Very nice.
it's already got like 6 bookings down there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I've been calling all the wood suppliers in LA. None of them do wood.
Yeah.
Or oak. Sorry, none of them do oak.
Lazari would be the only one and they're based out of San Francisco.
Yeah. I don't know because up here, every guy I talk to, they have oak.
Because we got oak all over the place.
Is that why? That makes sense.
It's
So down there, they don't have as much
don't
oak.
have it.
Interesting. Very
Yeah.
interesting. That makes sense now.
because like the guys who we buy wood from, they're licensed arborists that specialize in fallen trees, about getting in there, getting the
Right,
fallen tree out.
sure.
So they get money to get the wood out of there, and then they sell it on the other side.
It's interesting. I just never thought why. I was calling all these places. They're like, no, like we don't have oak. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm just like,
But they got mesquite and like other.
it sounds like they use, I think it's cherry.
Okay.
I think that they have like down in LA, if you have a wood-fired restaurant, there is a wood that they all use. And I think it's cherry or almond. It's one of those two.
Yeah, because I mean, there's tons of almond orchards in the Central Valley that all those prunings every year
That makes sense.
get processed somewhere.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I always like to ask people like what kind of wood they're using. I know a little bit about just in terms of like the energy that the different woods create, and some of the different things. I have no clue about flavor profile. How important is that to you? And
As long as you're staying away from kind of terpeny, sappy stuff like pines and firs.
my dad always says eucalyptus is probably
eucalyptus
really
is
shitty.
Yeah, it's gonna. I think it'd probably taint your oven. I
Right.
like that.
Yeah.
They burn super hot. But the smell. I mean, it just smells like eucalyptus.
Yeah, I don't think it's
toxic.
toxic too, right? Yeah.
I don't think it's good for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
You don't want to be eating your pizza covered in
No.
eucalyptus smoke.
No. I think. I mean, because eucalyptus is an invasive species
Right.
from like Australia, I think.
I think
Primarily.
you're right.
Once again, we got a ton of it, but I wouldn't put it anywhere near
Yeah.
any food.
Yeah.
I don't know. I grew up with huge eucalyptus trees, like at my
Oh,
parents'
everyone
house.
here did. Yeah.
And you get the turkey vulture poop all over everything.
Westwood Hills is mine.
Yeah.
You go through Westwood Hills, are everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not going to use that. We
No.
stick to oak.
Stick to oak. Yeah. Or almond.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it is.
Yeah.
That's the one in LA. It's
Okay.
almond.
Okay.
It is almond.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I had a bunch of I had cherry and like 6 different kinds delivered in sample bags from where we get ours. And I haven't really tried any of them yet, but I want to.
I don't think so. I would say that the most pronounced flavor profile difference is in the fig wood itself. like you can actually pick up some like sweet
Dry,
notes.
or does it matter?
Dry.
Dry. Okay.
Yeah. You can pick up some sweet notes to it. So if you're doing like a fig pizza with cream and gorgonzola, it just tastes a little bit sweeter.
Gorgonzola pizzas are nuts.
Yeah,
with
awesome.
the fig on it and just
stupid
little honey or something.
Yeah, or some pear. Or,
oh my God.
What direction you want to go?
Those aren't even like a pizza. It's like becomes a dessert,
it's dessert
at that point. Oh my God, it's good.
Aged balsamic.
Yep. How much wood are you going through?
So we go through 1 cord of wood every 2.5 weeks.
Wow. Yeah. That's impressive.
It's a lot of wood.
Where are you storing all that?
It's all stored at my house.
Are you bring it down as you need it?
So the house is 2 blocks away from the restaurant, or 1.5 blocks, and so it's just lining the driveway. You got it. Yeah, we wheelbarrow it over. Yeah.
Do you guys, you're obviously able to store at least one night's worth.
Is
that what it is?
No. We can fit probably 3 nights worth underneath the oven.
Gotcha.
We built it out so that the entire under space is available for wood storage.
Below the oven.
Below the oven. Okay. And that's a function of, having it there so that it dries out, so that it's not sopping wet because, you're storing it outside, right? It's not in a covered barn. It's just got a tarp over it.
Right. And, which you want, right? You want that thing to breathe. And,
Yeah, because you don't want any mold development. You don't want to, if it's too comfortable, a lot of critters like to live in there.
Yes.
And that's a serious concern when you're throwing your hands in a wood pile all the time. We got a lot of black widows out here.
Oh yeah, definitely. So what are your go-to utensils? Is there a brand that matters to you?
No, not really.
So you get the metal long handle.
Yeah, for turning.
Yep. What else are you using?
And then we're using a Forno Bravo hockey stick brush, brass
bristles. Does it have the wood top still?
Yeah.
That gets black and charred.
And the bristles go from being this long to that long over the course of 4 months.
Right. I never understood why all those wire brushes have wood heads on them.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
I don't know.
Because I don't know about you guys, but we inevitably use that to do shit you're not supposed to do with it, move logs and reach things that are out of sight. You just stick it in there.
Well, because the little clip on the top has kind of teeth that you can I can just grab that and pull that this way.
Exactly. Just you grab whatever's nearest and that brush is right there. And you're just so one of the things that we do, and I don't think it works for you in a restaurant. I don't know if you knew about it or if you've heard of this, but when we're building our initial fire and then we push it and you have, a good 1/2 inch thick of ash everywhere, we just slap a metal peel on the floor.
Okay.
You slap it 3 times. It's pristine.
Yeah.
Everything just kind of explodes, but a lot of it comes out the front. Which probably wouldn't work great in your restaurant, right? We're outside with our trailers and stuff.
Right. I prefer to brush everything into the fire.
Do you do the wet rag thing?
We used to do the wet rag thing, but I feel like that messed with the deck as well.
It's overkill, right?
It just seems like... Right. Okay. So if you take a super hot glass and then throw it into the refrigerator, it's got a possibility of cracking.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I get anxious of putting something that's wet and cold into where you want it to be super hot. Yeah.
That's a great point.
If the oven gets too hot, we'll actually take sheet trays and we'll just throw them on the oven because they're all made out of aluminum, and the aluminum's not a great conductor of heat, and so it'll help. It'll dissipate the heat super quickly.
That's really interesting.
So the heat will get absorbed up into the aluminum, and then the aluminum can't hold on to the heat, so it keeps pulling the heat out at a pretty good rate.
That's where the learning curve comes in with the oven. You can get this thing hotter very easily.
Yeah. How do you get it colder without?
Good luck.
Without running into problems.
And when for us, and with your restaurant, I know you, especially you're cooking every day at those high temps. That's kind of your sweet spot is those higher temps. And that's when we do our cooking classes, we'll do a 3-course meal, and we do this with Robert, one of the really talented chef who does a lot of our classes. His sweet spot is 700 to 800. He does 3-course meals, no pizza, and he does them all at that temp, and everything turns out really good. But then sometimes, you want to get creative and you want to start doing long roasts, right? Or baking your bread.
Yeah.
And in those cases, you can't just throw some logs in and get it up to 400. That's not going to happen.
Right.
You have to get it super hot and then let it cool down, but know when your window of opportunity is.
Right.
Right.
And how much, what's my coal base?
Yes.
How many more logs?
Yes. Do I leave the door open? Do I close it?
Exactly.
Like, you know, what time? So yeah, that's
just practice.
That is muscle memory. But the good thing is, I mean, you know, pizza, and I'm assuming you agree with me on this, but just like overall wood-fired cooking, like pizza is the easiest
Absolutely
thing to start with.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you get it really hot and it's hard to mess up.
It's hard to mess up.
But then
just don't burn it.
Don't burn it. Right.
And don't stab it.
Do you?
Everybody wants to go in too
Yeah.
early. That's
Yeah.
like it's got a little bit of color. Let's
Yep.
turn it. No, leave
Yep.
it there.
Leave it. Let
leave
it get. Yes.
Let the pizza do its thing.
Covering it with toppings is the thing I see. Just mountains of, like you explain, like,
Yeah.
look, like if you want to put a lot, that's good. But like you see these mountains of arugula and like prosciutto, and
Yeah.
it's just like that's not going to work.
That's not going to work.
But
It's not going to taste that good.
So would you sacrifice? So you put a pizza in, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to do one of two things. You're either going to, you know, overcook the toppings,
Yeah.
but your dough is going to be good,
Yeah.
or you know, you're going to pull it out a little early and your toppings are solid, but the dough's a little undercooked. Which one do you do?
We're making bread first and foremost.
Dough.
Make sure the dough's, because that's the
dough.
bulk of it.
Sure.
I mean, like on a Neapolitan style pizza, we're doing for margarita, for example, it is 8.5 ounces of cheese of dough. It is 4 ounces of tomato sauce. It's 2 ounces to 2.5 ounces of cheese. And so it's like, what's the first thing? We're making bread. That's the bulk of this thing. Right? We're just topping bread. And if you focus on the dough, then everything else can kind of fall into place.
Right.
Even if the toppings are a little bit under or something like, or a little bit over, it's like, well, it's still good bread.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I would say that's the number one commented thing I hear, right, when we're cooking is just like, this dough is insane.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So if, you know, with what other kind of wood-fired cooking are you doing aside from pizzas, or do you like to do?
I love spit roasting. So hopefully, once the weather gets a little bit better, we're going to start doing spit roast Sundays. And I don't know if that's going to be at the restaurant or if that's going to be at the brewery.
Where would you do it, at the courtyard, or like...
No, we'd probably do it right on the street.
Oh,
yeah. We just
the pull out right in front of the restaurant.
Yep,
Yes.
exactly.
Get there early and just
yeah. So we spit roast out there pretty frequently during the summer, typically on Saturdays, just because I like the theater. If you got a big old hunk of meat hanging, like smoking and roasting out front,
I love it.
You know, it's cool. It brings people in.
Have you read Seven Fires?
I have.
By Francis Mallmann. It's a really great book. I love that, just to see all the crazy different stuff you can do and ways you can cook.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like when they butterfly it and they just like kind of put it on a steak.
Yeah.
And there's like a small little coal pit.
That's wild.
Type thing, super low and slow.
Yeah, with the goats and pigs and stuff like that.
And then they'll do some where they put they dig a hole, put like a blanket, or they put like a blanket in a hole, put some veggies in there,
like burlap.
They wrap up the blanket and then they put like ash and like they bury it and they just like super slow.
Yeah, that's actually one of the things that we've done. Is if there's a huge coal base in the morning left over from the night before, we can throw all the coals into like a hotel pan.
Yes.
And then get some like onions or potatoes or like parsnips or any kind of root vegetable, and then just wrap them in foil and shove them in the coals, and then just wait until 5 or 6 hours later, once everything's all cold.
Right.
Oh, killer vegetables, because they're like smoked, roasted, and charred all at the same time.
Right. Yeah. No. Veggies in wood fire are just, they're meant to be. 100%. I mean,
I totally agree.
The flavor you get and the taste you get is unlike anything else.
It's caveman stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's
sure.
we have adapted to enjoy that flavor profile over millennia.
Makes sense. Yep.
You know,
that's why we love it so much.
That's why we love it. We know it. It's comfortable. We know that's safe food. You know.
So, how do you develop your menu? You know, and how far ahead are you? This is kind of pretty, like, you kind of just look at what you've got at the garden and you're like this,
A little bit of planning, a little bit of that.
Sure.
I really like going to the farmer's market on Thursday morning. So first and foremost, we're going to cook whatever we grow in the garden, right? We've already spent the money on that. We've paid for the water. We've paid for the soil. We've paid for the farming, the harvesting. That's the product that's the freshest we could possibly get. So that's going to be the forefront of the menu. Beyond that, I really like going to the farmer's market and just seeing what other farmers have available at that time. We focus on what's in abundance at the time because it tends to be higher quality and cheaper, and it makes sense for the restaurant. Beyond that, there's no real hard and fast rules. There's always got to be a margarita pizza. There should always be garden lettuces, and there should always be polenta. We need pizzas, 4 of them. Margarita takes 1, so I need to come up with 3 more.
Right.
Cream, tomato, make sure you got 1 of each at least. And then with antipasti, I like to have 1 seafood antipasti, and I like to have a meat antipasti, and then the other ones I like to keep vegetarian or vegan.
Sure.
And then in pastas, pastas are a lot more like, what do I want to eat for dinner tonight? Because I eat a lot of pasta.
Yes.
I'm a pasta fanatic.
All day.
I can't. But I love classic pastas like carbonara and amatriciana. And so the classics make it very difficult for me to stretch my legs a little bit in pasta because they're so good and they're a classic for a reason. Like linguine and clams,
Do you guys teach a pasta making
We
class?
do, yeah.
How often is that?
It's based on when people want to come to the class.
Gotcha.
So typically they're available either Friday or Saturday morning starting at 10. It's a 2-hour class. We'll do pizza, pasta, or butchery. The butchery is actually a 3-hour class. It takes a little bit longer. You got to plan that one further out in advance because we need to make sure that we have either a lamb or a whole pig that we can get into so I can show you how to break the whole thing down.
So it's all about how you quarter like a pig? Is that basically what it is?
Yeah, how you separate it out into primals, and then what you can use different parts of the pig for in order to maximize its
Sicilians
utility.
will use every single part.
Everything.
Right? Everything.
You absolutely should. Everything's delicious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, they're perfect little tasty animals.
It's something I know a lot of people from Napa hunt pig. Like that's a big thing. So it's super relevant if you live there.
Runs rampant throughout the valley, and I mean they are a nuisance. They dig up fences, they threaten livestock, they'll rip apart vineyards. But if you breed them with like a domestic pig, they got a really nice flavor profile.
Good to know.
So you get this really nice blend of gamey plus like all the sweetness associated with a domestic pig.
Right.
And wild pigs can be domesticated relatively easy if you just provide them with a food source. In the same way that domestic pigs will go wild and grow tusks pretty quickly if they need to start foraging for their own food.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Wow. We've been talking for an hour.
All right. That's impressive.
Yeah, that flew by.
Good flow.
Yeah, I liked it. What else should people know?
I don't know. I think we covered a lot.
Yeah. That was good. I think that was good.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, it was fun. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm empty, but cheers. Yeah, that was good. Thank you for doing it, man. I appreciate it. Hopefully,
Hopefully this turns into this.
Hopefully it didn't suck. And you come on, you're a regular guest, right?
I would love that. Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really excited about your pasta class. I needed the pasta, but that you do all this other stuff. That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. Once again, I have a hard time saying no.
Hey, good.
So that's how I ended up here, right?
Exactly. It was way too easy. I didn't have to bribe you or anything.
No.
All right, we're gonna end it. Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's it. Okay. Good.
Good stuff.
That was fun, man.
That was easy. Yeah. Good flow.
Yeah.